Hello FPV friends. So, antennas. I shouldn't really have to talk about skew planars and the benefits they have over these rubber duck type antennas you tend to get on VTXs. They're just better, always use them. Similarly, on the receiver end, the helical antenna is well known, albeit directionally, for getting further distance. This relatively modest 3-turn helical has got great video to over 5K on my Bixler. I'm pleased with that. I haven't even gone to my 5-turn yet to see how far that will go. However, what about helical on short range? I'm subscribed to loads of FPV YouTube channels, amongst other things, and I keep seeing people flying with these things on their goggles, just racing 250s around. I'm thinking, why are they doing that? It's not like they're going kilometres away. It's normally a couple of 100 metres at most. So perhaps the increased gain on the antenna, albeit having to point, will help if you're going behind obstacles, which we know that 5.8 is particularly bad at. So I'm going to take this, put it on my goggles to compare against the Skew, and take the ZMR 250 around some trees and see if this gives me an advantage over this. Here we are for my first flight, and I'm using a Skew on my goggles. As you can see, we get a variety of good and bad videos. As we go past obstacles, we get some static. However, there's no excuse for this crash. That's just me being a bit crap. Finding my way through some other trees now. Again, the signal varies. It's not bad, but I'm not overly filled with confidence. Although once again, it wasn't static that brought me down here, but the inability to spot the hanging branch. Or again, the branches sticking out of the ground. Of course, the one thing I should expect from using the Skew is to get a good signal no matter where I am, so behind myself here, I'm getting good video. For the next flight, I put the helical on, and to be honest, at first I wasn't sure there was a difference. There was still breakup, although that's a given. A helical doesn't fix the problem of going through solid objects. It also doesn't like it when I fly behind myself. I tend to fly behind myself okay in a plane on a helical, mainly when I'm coming into landing, but obviously the tiny signal you do get from behind is more easily obscured by the obstacles we've got here. I'm not actually attempting to track my quad by turning my head. I'm just keeping facing forwards and seeing what happens with the beam angle I've got. Next, I tried going a little bit further than usual and actually ended up outside of the woods. I know I would get absolutely nothing from Skew, so that quite impressed me. It's also a little bit surreal just coming out into sort of the world and then popping back in again. I can't imagine what a passerby would think of it. So, this is a difficult point to try and explain, and I would guess quite subjective to a viewer. Looking at the DVR footage, it doesn't look like all that much of an improvement, but the feeling I was left with is the signal was significantly better on the helical. I've been trying to analyse this as to why or what it was. I think there is less static, and more significantly, where there is static, it's ultimately flyable through. In the Skew, I would get to a point where the picture continued to worsen, so I'd have to try and back out somehow or generally end up crashing. The helical, though, even when it's bad, gives me enough where I can just carry on going. Ultimately, what this gave me is more confidence to go for it, although this first attempt at going through a tree was far too slow and pathetic. More speed is what's required. However, after a few flights of thinking that the helical was the way to go, I started to wonder if I was just suffering some sort of FPV placebo effect. Had I simply got used to the flying conditions now, and there was no difference? So I put the Skew back on, as seen in this video. Instantly, I started to think there was quite a lot of more intense static on the Skew, and when I crashed here, I
I thought that the static actually played a role in that one. So back to the helical I went. I should just mention this flying location, as a few people asked how I worked out where I was going or joked that I kept turning left. There is a path that runs down here, but it's quite difficult to see, especially when this low sun came out. I actually flew this at about 12:30 PM, so that's pretty much the extent of how high the sun gets. The light really flattens out the perspective, and I found it really quite difficult to see any detail. Anyway, because of this, I'm afraid that all trees look alike, and I don't really know where I am most of the time. So if I fly in a circle, it's a case of thinking that I'll eventually end up back near myself. When I was completely lost, I had to listen out to figure which direction I could hear my quad from, and then work out if the noise was increasing and hence I was coming back to myself, or decreasing, in which case I was going away, so I should try turning around. Although the range I'm flying here is a few hundred meters at the most, if you're trying this for the first time, my advice to you is to get some sort of beeper. You can be just a few feet away from your quad and just not see it. The combination of a beeper and the LEDs I've got made this very easy to find on the multitude of crashes I had. So would I recommend a helical for this type of flying? Well, the answer is yes and no. It certainly worked for me in this location, although I did need to be aware that the signal would drop off if I'd go behind myself. So if you can fly around your woods as far as you like and have a good signal, then keep doing it. But if you're getting more breakup than you can handle or want to try going further, then try helical or patch out. If you do that, then please let me know how you get on, either in the comments or via Facebook. I've got a URL for that in the description. As the reason I make these videos is in part to try and share some of the things I found, but also to get other opinions and understand the experience of other guys. So let me know. Bye for now.